Hey everyone, this is Dyck. Now, I'm formerly of iStack Training and my podcast, The Robust Marketer. I've started something new and I wanted to tell everyone about it today. When I was working with iStack, I rented space from some friends of mine who've been building media buying startups for the past 5 years. In late 2018, they launched their agency, Pilothouse, focusing on lead gen and e-commerce. And I was lucky enough to just watch it grow. It started with 5 employees. It jumped quickly to 10 to 15. It's now at 20 staff. And I was constantly like feeling the vibe of this agency, hearing their stories of how their media spends was pushing into the millions, as well as the incredible results that they were creating for their clients, continually outperforming some of the best established agencies in the space. So when I got the opportunity to join the rocket ship and help them with their content marketing, I jumped at the opportunity, and that's what I'm here to do. So basically, joined the company. Then the coronavirus apocalypse hit, and this amazing office culture that I was super stoked to join was forced online, as everyone is now working from home. And honestly, the results have just been amazing. It's only been a week that I've been doing this with them, but just the flurry of activity, the culture, the communication, everything that I loved about the company has sort of been present in their digital format, which has been super, super cool. So the good news is so far, the client results haven't fallen off the map very far. In a lot of cases, they're actually performing better. And basically, we wanted to just jump on a call today, provide some content for people to talk about the ways that we are servicing our clients and scaling our campaigns throughout this sort of really interesting time that we're all facing. And we know there's so many media buyers out there, so many brand owners out there that are just filled with sort of uncertainty about what's to come. So we really wanted to just kind of put out some of what we see working out there best, some of our thoughts, just start sharing content with the community in the way that everyone has done so far with us as well. So today's panel will be the four principals of Pilothouse, the founders, Jeff and Kyle, the CEO, and the head of media. So that's Dave Steele and Andrew Stern. Now, I don't know, I'm sure some of these guys will be familiar to the people in the audience, but maybe not for others. Now, everyone here has been in the trenches of media buying for over 10 years, in a lot of cases, performance media buying, building the same kind of performance mindset and bringing that into the agency world where we're really focused on servicing clients that are ruthlessly performance driven. Today, we're going to share, like I said, some insights and strategies that are working for us right now, both in terms of tactical campaign strategies, as well as team and culture building strategies, because that's super important for any kind of fledgling company right now, especially trying to deal with all that we have on our plates with everyone working from home. So I'm super happy to kick off the first bit of content I've done in quite a while by introducing our panel here. Welcome, guys. How you doing?
Good, man. Stoked for this.
Yeah, took us a bit to get it going here, and it's going to be a little rough. It's funny, we were talking before about the kinds of content we wanted to create, and we had sort of very high goals about the quality and the style exactly. But then we just sort of realized there's just so many people out there who are, I think, struggling with their businesses right now, struggling with their campaigns, that it made more sense just to kind of get going, get something out there, and see the ways that we could kind of help people sooner rather than later, rather than like really trying to focus on a polished product. So forgive us if our lighting is off or our sound isn't the best. We're going to work through it. So first of all, I was just going to, we've got Jeff Shannon here, who's a co-founder. We've got Kylh Eitchcox, who's a co-founder. We've got Dave Steele, who just in the past, like just over a year as the CEO of this company, has really just taken the reins and grown it extremely quickly. He was one of the big reasons that I wanted to join as well. And his sort of clarity of vision has been really impressive. And then we've got Andrew Stern, who's been buying media since way back in the day with me at Neverblue, run every kind of campaign under the sun and sort of really oversees the whole team of buyers here. So he's got a really bird's eye perspective on the actual stuff that's working in campaigns today. So I just wanted to start this. When I came on, I wanted to know, I thought Pilothouse was sort of like is that a made up word? What does it really mean? And I know, Kyle, you always have had a pretty good explanation of what Pilothouse actually means. Can you enlighten us?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like coming from we're basically always in startup mode, and we found that we were helping clients with pilot projects or their startups. And so it really it started there. It's like, this is a place where we're helping, brands and other people, advertisers, partners, build their brand. And so that's kind of where the pilot component came from. But at the same time, we've kind of got this internal rocket ship thing going on. So, Dave's probably going to spot check me here, but it's kind of shifted gears into, Pilothouse, like it's like the bridge of the rocket, kind of where all the decisions are happening.
Nice. And what is the technical, Dave? What is the technical definition of a pilot house?
That would be the captain's bridge on a vessel. So I think you're right on the money there, Hitch.
Nailed it.
Very cool. So it's the place where the steering and navigation exists in any vessel. So that's what we're here to I think help people do, as we do it ourselves. See which way we can provide value here. So I wanted to just get a sense from the start from everyone. Like, maybe you could kind of each take turns and talk about, like, what do you make of this time? And then as what do you see in the first week of this sort of situation evolving with the actual clients and campaigns that we're managing? Jeff, do you want to start?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the key here is that no one knows what the hell is going to happen. We're in a crazy time. Literally, things are changing day by day, hour by hour, and keeping things flexible and kind of going all in is kind of the key right now. You got to go in, make sure your business survives, make sure you're doing everything you possibly can to get to that next day. There's no such thing as super long-term planning right now. It's really about, dig in your heels now and do what you can to make it work.
And I know, you guys had pretty big aggressive growth goals kind of right when this was all starting. And I think, your point is, it's not, you're not like throwing those plans out. You're just sort of putting them on hold right now, because we're all in a holding pattern here, wanting to know.
I don't know, actually. Dave, how many people have we added in the last week and a half?
3 people and another to join us April 1st. So, the mentality is definitely a growth mode for sure.
Yeah. And the logic there, I know that sounds silly, and Jeff, you probably have some thoughts on this, but the logic there is dig in and support the clients that are going to win and find more clients that need proactive support. And so in order for us to do that, we need more of the right people in place to pull it off.
Absolutely.
And that also speaks to the brands too. I mean, it's been amazing to see the brands we're working with aren't willing to just roll over and lose. Right? They're coming to us saying, okay, guys, like, this is the new reality. How do we make the best of it? Right? So we've got a team of people who also think that way. And I think that is a huge factor here, where you can either succumb to the fear and start thinking from a place of scarcity, or you can have that mentality of, maintain that mentality of abundance that you had 2 weeks ago and come into it with that same energy.
And trust that no matter what on the other side, we're going to get back to some semblance of normal. There will be some things that are different after this. It's a big event, but you can sort of trust. It's funny. I look at all the construction workers; they're still working in a way, because it's like there's the momentum behind them is so big. The construction, world building, it's such a big, a big thing with a lot of money behind it, a lot of momentum. They're not stopping, and it's it's easy to get caught up in what's happening and feel like. Not the world's ending, but that, this is really unprecedented times, but we know that things will go on. And so, keeping the foot cautiously to the pedal is an interesting strategy for sure.
For sure. And with both hands on the steering wheel, because, we might need to make some 90-degree turns, but that's kind of just part of it.
I wanted to ask more about the clients. So what are you seeing at a high, like, I guess this might be we can talk with Dave a little bit more about the clients, and then we can kind of dip down into more actual campaign stuff. We can talk with Andrew a bit more about that. But Dave, like, what, you mentioned that the clients are keeping their heads on their shoulders. They're really motivating. I think any good agency acts like an extension of someone's own internal team. And I know that's really how you guys strive to be with all your clients. So what are you seeing from the clients right now and their attitudes on what's happening?
Mm-hmm. It's good. I mean, frankly, to preface it, frankly, we're lucky with the clients that we do have on board. I mean, I know out there's a lot of businesses that are just, they're up shit's creek, right? I mean, there's not a lot that can be done for them. Thankfully, our clients do have levers that they can pull and things that they can do to improve sales in this circumstance. Obviously, a lot of D2C brands, e-com, lead gen. And so in that space, take lead gen, for example, great opportunities right now with a lot of advertisers pulling off the platform, CPMs coming down. You can find ways to play into the conditions. Obviously, we'll dive in that maybe on a tactical level, because that has to be done carefully. And we're seeing across the board, we've tested a bunch of different ways of doing that, and we're starting to get that market feedback on what's too far and what's a suitable way to deal with it. But in general, it seems like there's no shortages of ideas on how to take a product or service and kind of fit it in with the current market conditions, and then get that market feedback right away and then adapt.
Yeah, adapt or die, literally.
Yeah, and proactivity is the key here. Like, I've been in companies before where things were, there was challenges and things were kind of going south, and there are times when things go quiet, and those are the scariest times, when people aren't sort of chatting. And just like I said this in the intro, but to see the way that the Slack channels are popping off sort of at all hours with people contributing, helping. I think proactivity is the buzzword that you really need to focus on if you're an agency. Is really like, you can't trust that the things that took you here are the things that are going to work going forward. And we can talk about the sort of philosophy that Pilothouse has.
Eric, totally. I think there's just another point too, is just transparency and communication. So just literally exposing yourselves, because you're both vulnerable right now. And so you need to open yourselves up and be completely honest and transparent. And a lot of companies are, some aren't. And you need to share information as fast as you can. You need to collaborate as fast as you can, and you need actionable plans day to day, because if you're not doing that, you're going to kind of lose track. You're going to miss a step. Be it fulfillment, like, oh, I didn't know you didn't have that product in. Like that's like 2 days wasted of work. And so you really need to be proactive in your communication. And you need to tell your partner that this is how it is right now. You need to be upfront with it, because it's not going to work otherwise.
And being honest when stuff isn't working. And I think what Dave said, I mean, there's going to be some businesses that are not going to do well during this time. And there's only so much you can do to pivot their business strategy. There's always a strategy, but some don't have the cash flow position. Some don't have, like Kyle said, the inventory. And I think, instead of just slogging these companies along, it might be the right thing to do for certain companies, might be to pause and wait, or really adapt to a lower spend to get through this next few bits here.
Can you guys give me a sense? I've been obviously following the accounts and kind of seeing the ups and downs on a day-to-day basis, and I know it obviously depends on the advertiser, but to give any viewers of this like as much transparency as possible. I know we're working with lead generators, we're working with apparel companies, we're working with accessory companies, and things that they're all on varying different spots on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And what I've been most impressed with so far is there hasn't been, I feel like you've had to slow some accounts down, but there haven't been, nothing's tanked yet. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's been surprising is, what's working and what's not working. We can make assumptions all day and make predictions, but really the data has been telling us, differently in a lot of cases than what we've thought. And so, our biggest thing here is just making sure that we have our finger on the pulse, like Kyle said, communication, transparency, and, being, you brought it up as well, proactive. Like we're trying to read the state of things as fast as we can at all times of hours, and kind of take advantage of opportunities, but also tone it down when it needs to be, so the I think we've been surprised in a lot of ways, pleasantly surprised in a lot of cases. But the great thing is really having a good team that is kind of always in the trenches, figuring it out.
Yeah.
And on that note,
Go ahead.
Eric, just to also answer that previous question. So, when it comes to at-home delivery products, in the pet niche, we're seeing a client who's hitting all-time record month this month in March, right? So it tells you, clearly we're taking advantage of the pullout of other advertisers, that inventory. We're doing it in a way that is touching on the current market conditions, but doing it in a tasteful way. And we might get into those specifics a little later. But at the same time, we've got some high-end luxury, a luxury product that you'd never imagine would do well in a downturn. But it's still hitting its CPA target. And generally speaking,
right? Like
it's taken some crashes, and maybe they'd be good for us to get into what our strategy had to adapt from. A week over week we were increasing spend and we were building out the remarketing journey, and it was this big conversation with the client, and all of a sudden this news hit and the budgets had to drop because all of a sudden there was just a bit of a scarcity mindset, and we had to totally restructure the ad campaigns, start piling up audiences to make sure the audiences were big enough, etc. And thankfully after that restructuring we were able to maintain good CPA at a lower budget.
mm-hmm.
And that all happened in the course of a couple hours, basically. Like just so let's dive in on that a little bit, because I feel like there's a lot of value in this particular case. So basically you had a strategy where you were doing prospecting, and then you had like where you had middle of funnel, bottom of funnel ads, where you were kind of like walking people through the buying journey in a specific way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly. We were addressing common objections. So we would have, your classic, day one retargeting, day 2, 3, or they might do a bit larger buckets, 1 to 3, 4 to 6, etc. And we would cycle through different types of ads in each of those buckets. But with the decrease in ad spend, each of those audiences became too small to be optimal. And Stern, maybe you could dive in and give more backstory on that.
Totally. I mean, this is a client we've had for, a year, one of our longest standing clients. A lot of legacy stuff has been built in it. And, as Facebook, sometimes you build things and if they work, you just got to leave them, even if they're not maybe best practices. You just have to kind of ride the wave. So with this account, we had, a ton of campaigns, a ton of different strategies. It was really a great showcase of kind of the work that we put into it over the year, and really grown this from scratch to a consistent, profitable, high growth campaign or account. And basically we hit a brick wall. And the interesting part was we kind of hit that brick wall on a day that we didn't expect. We thought, we had these feelings of it being invincible. Announcements of this, all the sports leagues closing down, national emergency, all this stuff, and it's still rolling. And then all of a sudden, one day, last week, it just went from 90 to 0. And, we had to make some quick moves, like you said, within hours, kind of come up and deploy a totally different strategy. And in this case, the best move was consolidation. So that meant giving up, these time sequenced funnels that that were doing everything that Dave mentioned, really meeting customer objections, all that kind of stuff. And we really had to just kind of zone in on the best ad winners, some of the new angles that were working, put them into smaller, campaigns, but with ad sets with very broad audiences, make sure that we have kind of full coverage, and then let the pixel really figure it out for us. And the great thing in this case, and what we've seen in a number of cases that we've done this for in the recent days with clients is, the ROAS came, the sales came, we were able to do it at, lower budgets, keep it nice and efficient. And we've really actually been able to scale it up like day over day and get closer to the kind of where we were, on that previous trajectory. So, that's been a strategy that's worked with some. We definitely have found, other strategies with different clients as well.
I wanted to ask, was there, because I know clients will often, like when you, especially when you build out a plan and you're like, okay, here's the journey that we're going to take people on. Here's the top, bottom, middle of funnel. And then you have to say to them, okay, we have to pivot on that plan. Like, is there ever issues where clients are sort of like, they love the idea that you've presented them to, so much that you have to sort of say, listen, like that works in, that this idea was working, but we have to change the story, and you have to like communicate that to the client. Is that ever a challenge?
Well, sorry, I'll just say quickly here, but like definitely that has been the case. The thing about it is that there's ways to still deliver on those strategies in a consolidated fashion. So, within a middle of funnel, bottom of funnel campaign, you can expand out the days, expand out the targets, make sure within the ad set you have all of the different types of assets that you were splitting out before. Make sure that you have all the different formats and angles to the ads, and really the algorithm is gonna kind of do that strategy for you anyways. It's gonna make sure that each customer is seeing a different ad. It's gonna make sure that it's showing the right ad at the right time, because you've already warmed that pixel. So the way we had it structured, not the same, but the way it's being executed is still, it's the meat of it's still there. So the clients know that, and their expectations have changed. And as long as we're kind of covering all those bases, they've been happy. Obviously, good results are going to change their opinions, on what they think is right. So that's what we like to do.
Stern, on this is a luxury client, obviously. This is not something, it's didn't quite expect or know what to expect with it. Did we totally change the creative angle to adapt to what's happening right now, or was it more of a technical optimization with the consolidation to really get it going again?
Yeah, it's a great question. And like I said before, different strategies for different clients. For this one, we didn't change any of the creative. We tested some other creative, and we tested it quickly, and it didn't work, didn't show the promise we needed. It was really the original stuff that was working still. It just needed like a different structure, a different foundation around it, and that's kind of what we quickly adapted to.
But on that note,
yeah.
I was going to say, on that note, Stern, that creative angle that was crushing before all this happened to have also been sort of a discounting style.
Yep.
And therefore, in this scenario now, you've got people who are, probably more financially aware. All of a sudden, they see it as an opportunity. And, we're looking at ways to actually lean into that a little bit more. People who can be like, okay, well, I'm sitting at home, I'm bored, they're shopping. And if they feel like they're actually able to take advantage of the opportunity, saying, hey, if online retailers are struggling and they're willing, they got inventory issues and they're willing to, offer up a sweeter deal. And if me personally, I've actually got a fine financial situation. Yes, I'm work from home, but I'm still getting my paycheck, and my costs have gone down quite a bit because I'm not going to the clubs. I'm not going out for my coffee every morning. I personally am noticing more money in my bank account than I expect because I'm not doing all those things. And then you add on to that, you target me with this luxury goods, say, and it's perceivably on sale right now, and it won't be on sale like this again in the future. That, you seize the moment, right?
Yeah.
I think it's also important to remember that these luxury goods, for a lot of people, shopping is definitely a form of therapy for people. And I'm not suggesting everyone should go out and spend a bunch of money online, but buying something like this can actually provide a little level of comfort for people that I think they're really craving right now, some level of normalcy. And I think that's what this client is succeeding with, really.
Yes.
That's my sense with this particular client for sure. And I wanted to talk like a little bit about angles and what you're doing with your clients. This one wouldn't make sense. If you're buying a luxury item, you don't want to, that's not like, you're not buying it for reasons that are really applicable necessarily to the new reality or to what people are going through. Whereas if you're selling some kind of homewares or what you were talking earlier about, pet products, these are things that really you can tie in like warm and fuzzy ways in a way, right? Like whereas if you're buying a luxury item, you don't need to, talk about distancing or working from home or anything like that. Whereas if you're selling, something for your pet necessarily, that's going to give you these warm feelings of this experience with your dog that you might have at home.
Nice timing.
You can sort of mention it, soft mention these things. So I just wanted to talk from an angle perspective. What are you guys doing? What are we doing with these angles related to Corona?
So, rule number one is don't use the word virus in your ad copy. Don't use the word Corona in your ad copy. Health, vitality, comfort, sure, but be very careful. We're starting to see comments that are like, this is distasteful, or like, well done, guys. So it's really important. One, just to protect a brand. You don't want to put a sour taste in people's mouths, but from angles, it really depends too. From, a health product or a personal care product, obviously there's a lot more you can tie to the benefits of boosting your immunity in these things versus, underwear, where that might just be a comfort thing, or like you're literally at home, so just, wear nice new underwear. And it really just comes down to kind of the flavor of the brand and how aggressive or, soft those brands want to be.
Totally.
Yeah. I think there's like 3 high level kind of approaches that I was kind of thinking about before this call. And obviously like the obvious ones are you provide a necessary service to get people through this. So if you're selling toilet paper, toothbrushes, whatever, don't sell fucking toilet paper right now, but then there's also, save the client money. Like right now we have an impending economic disaster, at least that's the word out there. So if your product can save the client some kind of cash to get through this, they're pretty likely to bite, and that can include discounts on your existing products. But it can also include just companies that do that for a living. We work with quite a few of those, that their job is to save clients money by switching services or, getting them new rates on a financial product or what have you. And then the third is kind of just providing that level of comfort. And if you can adapt to one of these 3 models, which I think any product really can in the right scenario, necessary service, save the client money, provide comfort, I think you at least have a fighting chance to get through the next bit for sure.
And providing comfort could mean providing comfort while referencing what's happening, but it could also mean providing distraction in a way, as we see with like the luxury product we were talking about there. Like there's no reference to how this is going to help you in the situation, but it's just sort of this understanding that that there are, like, people do crave normalcy. They and they're looking it makes them feel good because they're looking beyond this time, when their luxury item will be of more value or use to them.
It's timing too, and like reflecting back to what Dave said earlier about people being at home and suddenly having more cash because they're not at the club, literally, I think is what you just said. Those people may not realize the severity. So there may be a 1-2 month window here where those people are just kind of like at home on TikTok and Facebook, not kind of caught up yet. And so it's just a timing consideration also. Of this influx of traffic, we have someone, one of our employees has a friend in Facebook, and he said they're getting more traffic every second than they do on New Year's Eve right now.
Wow. Yeah.
So there's a lot of different people, and so there's a lot of different people looking for different messaging. And Stern, maybe, angle testing and process and message process and things like that. Like that's probably something we should talk about eventually or whenever. But like
Yeah, go ahead.
I think there's so many people on the internet right now, and the algorithm is kind of just went, whoop, what just happened?
Yeah.
So it's a good opportunity if you're testing intelligently.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And just on that, before we dive into Angle, one of our clients brought up the other day that they've seen a huge swing in back to desktop traffic. So, we've been heavy on mobile first, everything, kind of honestly, really losing track of desktop as a scalable, profitable channel. I mean, it's always profitable, but it's hard to scale. But all of a sudden, people are off their phones and on laptops, on home desktop computers, that kind of stuff. So it's a whole different mix, even from a device standpoint. So before we even get into angles, you gotta really assess who these new people are, what their demo is, age, gender, any other stuff that you can really gather from the platform, and see what's happening this week versus last week versus the week before, because it's also changing daily. So it's something that we have all of a sudden become very conscious of, because it's usually a pretty static thing. Obviously we dig into it, obviously we're looking at it, but we're not looking at it on a daily, weekly basis like this.
Everyone working from home, that there's a lot more Facebook inventory out there than if they were in the office, right? They're going to be jumping tabs to their personal stuff a lot more freely.
It's great. What's that, Stan?
Not at Pilothouse.
No, never at Pilothouse. I think just for context of what we're seeing in on certain client accounts, we've got a client account focused on saving the consumer money, and in the personal finance space, and we've literally, our average lead cost for them is around 21 to $25 on a normal day. We've literally seen it go down to $9, constantly for the past week and a half here, week. So it's crazy. I think it is those two things. It's the supply is just through the friggin' roof, and it's that demand is really starting to drop. I mean, we've heard from some other agencies in the space that they're starting to see those big budget dollars kind of drop out. Those big companies that are kind of just starting to turtle and they don't know what to do, especially the branding dollars. And I think that really does help companies like ours and clients like ours who are really focused on the performance space, and who can work to ride this through.
We'll get into angles in a sec, but I just wanted to do a little side tour. There's this idea that e-commerce is going to take the biggest hit in what we're facing right now, but that lead generation, everyone sort of says in a downturn, lead generation is gold, and I think that's a very blanket statement, because there's obviously lots of different kinds of lead generation, but there's a couple things. One, I want to just talk. You guys have along with Pilothouse, you have other lead generation businesses that are ticking along. And I just your general sense on that statement of lead generation, like really thriving in this time. And then I also wanted to ask, like, is there any play for e-commerce businesses to be building lists while this traffic, even if they're having trouble making sales, is there a play in your mind to build lists and build audiences for when times pick back up again while inventory is cheap for leads?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Pilothouse has e-commerce clients and lead gen clients, right? And like Jeff said, there's clients, CPAs that are stable, or Dave said there's, on the e-commerce side, there's e-commerce clients who are stabilized, and then there's certain lead gen clients who are winning now better than they have. At the same time, we have others who are not doing as well. And that's also, a switching service kind of thing. And so I don't think it's, I guess where I'm going with this, I don't think it's like, it's the holy grail, like this is going to solve everyone's problem. I think that brands and advertisers, more than ever need to nurture the lists that they have. I think that they need to focus on LTV more than they ever have. I think they need to optimize, their back end costs and tighten the fulfillment flow and the rest of it. I think that, this is going to force a lot of brands and advertisers to market to their external lists in ways that they haven't. or they've been too busy because sales have been coming in so fast. And so, I think, reactivating old lists and talking to existing customers and getting on the phone and trying to get them to participate with your products again. I think that's going to become really important in the short term.
I'm getting a lot more emails, that's for sure. I'll tell you, the ones that are standing out right now are the ones that are not talking about the current situation.
100%.
They don't have the subject line COVID-19. They're going on with business as usual. That's the unique email that I'm seeing.
I'm getting a lot more emails from brands that I haven't seen in a while. And Stern, I agree.
I think everyone's shaking their tree, right? I mean, that's what you got to do in times of downturn.
And doing things that you're not maybe comfortable with before, like, older companies usually have infrastructure. Younger companies have less infrastructure, less support, less staff. It really depends on where you are in the food chain. But, get on the phones, like get your team calling customers. If you have, put yourself out there, get uncomfortable, because if you're doing the same thing, it's going to be really difficult in the coming times. Possibly, I don't know.
Yeah, we shall see about that. So let's talk about angles then. So angles, I when I first sort of became aware of how you guys work on I always had a high level understanding of your business when I was in your office. But understanding the way we work with clients at this point, the way each of the buyers sort of trained to think about angles and angle testing. Dave, can you just talk a little bit about like what you try to instill in people when it comes to angles? And let's focus on the art of angles. The way I see it is like the art of angles, which is sort of the really creative side. And I think Pilothouse is also really good at the technical side of angles as well, which is really making sure that you're not only optimizing your image creative, your text creative, all these things to have angles there, but also making sure those angles are reflected through to the landing pages as well, which is something you guys really excel with.
Yeah, for sure. I was actually just trying to pull up a Google sheet here with a client of ours, where we could sort of run through an example. Yeah, so basically we start, when it comes to angles, really step back, getting out of the trenches, just think holistically, get the whiteboard out, get the paper out, and just think, how can we sell this product, right? Your salesperson hat for a minute and just go blue sky. What are all the different ways that you can take this on? And I was actually pulling up, I think one of the ones, Eric, you and I had looked at was the heated lunchbox product. And when it comes to selling a lunchbox, there's a number of different ways, a number of different emotional buttons you can press. When it comes to, you could take obviously directly head on, being the heated food for the rest of the day, and enjoying warm food if you're a construction worker, or you work out in the alpine backcountry, whatever it might be. And also this also segments different demographics as well, right? There's also the, head on, hey, your kid deserves warm lunches for school. Take the saving money angle of not having to pay for, warm meals every day. And you just go on and on and on and on. I think with this product, God, we must have had like 25 different angles, some of which had similar audiences and demographics. And so we kind of bundled those all up together. And then we would actually create ads and send that over to the design team to create the actual creative component that fit that angle. And then of course we would wrap that with ad copy and headlines that also speak to that angle. And first we would test the ads and the angles to find out, hey, what really has opportunity here. And then of those winners, we would then start to, like you said, bring it into the landing page as to make sure that there's that congruent story. But of course, when it comes to 25 different angles, it's pretty inefficient to build 25 different pages. So we would narrow it down to a winner first, and then start to take it through the funnel.
It just on that that angle or that testing, like me specifically, I can't speak for everyone else here, but like I'm finding this idea of buying traffic. Okay, what placement is it? Where is this? Where's that? Like I think a lot of platforms are so strong right now. Just using the conversion data, that if you create the right angles, it's not what one angle is wrong or the other, it's that your angle has found a different audience. And so the pixel is going to take that angle and it's going to shove that message to that group of consumers. And you all know this, but the more angles you test, the more you can actually scale also. And the more you can find more winners. And if you keep iterating on that, you continue to find lower CPA, or at least a stable CPA, and drop your ego, get rid of the ones that don't work after a little bit.
And then expand on the ones that do, like go deeper, mine deeper into that angle, take that angle to another audience with a sub angle to that audience. It's really sort of endless when you
think pages
mindset.
Yeah, totally. Deep.
On that note, I think just because I was going through my sheet here, and I think it's worth saying, along the way, you just get lucky, right? You just hit some ad copy, headline, or whatever it is that just cranks. This particular case, we had a testimonial where someone wrote, "My son took a big, fat, juicy steak to school for lunch one day," and we capitalized the big, fat, juicy steak. And it just crushed compared to any other thing we did. Just that eye-catching, like, what is this? That curiosity element. And it's just like, who could have expected? How do you do that intentionally? You know what I mean? So sometimes it's just the process itself sometimes kicks off little nuggets of gold. And that's why you just have to constantly engage.
Always got to be testing.
There's so much in that line. It's like, okay, you want your kid to feel like the coolest kid in school. You want him to be healthy, or you want them to have status in their school. Like there's so much in that one sentence that you could unpack. But it's cool how you just sort of come across it by iterating and being creative with your team.
I actually remember that too. I was like, oh, that's never gonna work. And then Dave was like, check out this, man. I was like, oh, it's working. Yeah, we're really good. But it's just, you just with a little persistence.
I think one thing we also do for idea generation, I mean, we've got a fairly diverse group of people, probably not as diverse as we could be, but we literally will have company-wide sessions where we get 20 people in a room, and it's just like slam ideas up, go. Yeah. Because if you're one single media buyer, it's pretty tough to sit there and just get out of your own head to figure out how someone else would look at solving a problem. And also, don't be afraid to jump in with the client. There's nothing wrong with getting their perspective and brainstorming with them. You don't have to always have the solution on hand. You can actually go and say, hey, let's work through this problem together. Let's spend a half hour on the phone. Let's just shoot ideas back and forth. Show me all your testimonials. Show me what people return the product for, and solve those problems with new angles.
Yeah, I think that's a big one right there, Jeff. Just like objections, that feedback from customers, the direct input. I mean, Dave, you said it with the big tasty steak. That's what someone wants their kid to take to school, right? And like we wouldn't have known that. We're not going to put creative together that's a steak in a lunchbox for a kid. That's ludicrous, but that's straight from the customer's mouth, and that's what works. And we go deep with like Jeff said, the client. A lot of times clients don't even know that they have this gold, these resources. And that's one of the first things that we're asking for is any internal kind of assets or records of exactly that, customer returns, customer support, all that kind of stuff. It's really a great place to build ideas for angles.
And I think just to build on that right now, if you're not, and I'm guessing most people are, but if you're not running customer testimonials, if you're not running some sort of customer feedback, now is the time to do it. If people know that other people are buying products right now, they will also buy products right now.
Yeah, find something topical too. Like, not talking about the virus, but like if you can find recent, kind of impact statements of what your product has done for them in this time, like there's nothing better than that for an
100%.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about compliance and what we're seeing from Facebook at this time. Is there's always a constant conversation going on with Facebook, and there's always it's a game where you're always trying to put as much up as possible. Facebook is often telling you to scale it back. What are you seeing in terms of Facebook compliance right now? Have they loosened things up considering the situation that people in, or what do you say?
So there's like obviously 3 tiers of kind of marketers, right? So we're in the brighter of them. Just get that out there. And so compliance for us isn't regularly an issue. However, we obviously do run into issues, false flags, whatnot. We've had clients who legitimately are on Dragon's Den and, their accounts get flagged because it looks like it's black hat stuff. With that being said, right now, so like, I'm sure the other guys specifically have some other ideas, but like right now, what we understand basically is that all of Facebook's staff is working from home. There's no policies or procedures in place for that. I imagine their VPNs aren't working on their machines and the regular is falling apart. And so they're very heavy dependent upon AI right now, which as you all know, isn't perfect.
Yeah, I mean, that's where the false flags come from. I saw an article today saying the same thing. I'm sure Facebook will figure out a way to fix it, but right now, I would be prepared for some false flags if you haven't gotten any already. We haven't. We've been very lucky. So, just watch your accounts in that way and appeal quickly.
What I suspect will happen when this turns around, when they do figure out that process, they will do an onslaught of cleansing. We've seen it, 2-3 times over 6 years, and so I suspect, that will happen again. So basically, don't take advantage. Don't be too greasy. If you have a brand, stay true to your purpose, and because if you go too far the other way, I think it'll bite you in the ass.
One thing that we are seeing is more inconsistency. It's already inconsistent, but more inconsistency in approval times. They're sometimes we're getting them through right away like normal, but we definitely are seeing 24-hour, 48-hour turnaround time sometimes. So I think they're just, they're getting maxed on their bandwidth here. Did we lose Eric? Is he gone?
Yeah, I think we might have.
Should we pause up here or what?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's keep going, boys.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, let's let it rip.
Oh, yeah.
Here's a good question for the group.
You're the new host here.
Yeah. Here we go. To discount.
Say that again, Dave.
To discount or not discount?
My opinion on that is it really depends on your company situation. If you've got lots of cash in the bank and you think you can keep going without adapting, by all means do it. If you're really that tight with your or you want to keep that brand methodology close to your chest, I suppose. But right now it should be no holds barred. Like, I mean, if you need to do something to survive or get dollars in the door, discount. Absolutely. Don't waste time. Don't worry about your long-term. I mean, you should worry about your long-term brand vision, but there's definitely brands out there that will never discount. I think it's absolutely the wrong move. If you should discount instead of just letting it die, basically, is what I'm saying. If that's gonna solve the problem for you.
Expecting it right now,
Absolutely. And we've had clients where we take the angle of a work from home discount or whatever. It's a great way to kind of branch into the situation that literally every single person on the face of the planet is facing right now, without being super corona-y.
And on that, specifically on that note, I've got a good example. So a work from home discount is tasteful. We ran as a test a distancing discount, which actually got a lot more negative feedback than work from home discount. Very subtle, but the distancing discount more directly is associated to the coronavirus, where work from home is more associated to just, just a more matter of fact.
Kyle, you had a good idea about that one.
Yeah, so it's an underwear business. That the banner in question, I think it literally said distancing deal or whatever. is kind of in your face. There was some comments that were bad. I think it was focused on comfort and focus on kind of that cleanliness and keeping, you know, your balls comfortable. You know, work from home. So like, you know, keep your balls comfortable while you're working from home.
I was thinking, I really liked your idea about doing the PSA, like, you know, public service announcement. You know, it's like we're rewarding people that are staying at home. We're rewarding people. We're just trying
That's
to.
good. Love that.
Bingo. Love it.
Absolutely.
Much better idea. My other one was
You had to bring the balls into it, Kyle.
You had a lot of ideas.
So yeah, using the marketing power to enable basically the country to stay safe, right? So thank you, Stern.
Really good.
You know, you're spending thousands of dollars a day on impressions. Let's make it a positive experience. Let's remind people to stay home, and you know, let's offer a little discount in exchange for buying our product.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm seeing that. You know, nothing to do with our clients, but you know, I personally use subscription food delivery business, right? And these guys who I love, I you know, get a box every week. You know, I've increased my orders. You know, I'm spending 4 times more than I have been every week, you know, during this time, so I can stay at home. And what are these guys doing? They're discounting the meals, the add-ons, all this stuff, and they're not doing it to get a new customer. Like I'm already a customer. They I'm sure they have you know, maybe not supply issues, but they're getting pushed to the brim here, you know, with new people coming on board, and yet they're still discounting because it's the right thing to do. And you know, to me as a customer, like, you know, that makes me loyal. I'm sharing it with you guys. Like it's a great classy move, and just makes me feel better about being a customer.
Is it HelloFresh? Who's doing it?
I was going to ask who it is.
Fresh Prep.
Fresh Prep.
Fresh Prep. Are they Canada only?
My affiliate code below.
Yeah.
Somewhere in this video.
Hey, when are they going to figure out where the links are? When are they going to figure out where the links are? That's got to be figured out one of these days. I think it's a great opportunity, yeah, for brands, especially brands that don't ever discount. They have this premium thing. It shows you what the power, you know, how it can be perceived by people who are all undergoing this same thing right now. You know, the power to create brand goodwill by doing that. I think that's a really cool opportunity. We don't want to go too long on this. Oh, sorry, you got another point there, Kyle?
Just on the bundling thing too. I mean, there's brands that don't discount, like you're saying, because they're premium or perceived premium, and it works for them. You know, times might change. Don't know. Some of our clients, like, they're discounting like 1,000%. It's like everything's on fire or on sale all the time, rather, fire sale, and that works for them. That's their model. But if you are not bundling your products on your store in general, you're missing out on a bunch of revenue. And so, like, there's just basic fundamentals of, like, let's sell 2 of the same or 3 of the same or 5 of the same and discount those. Like, it's a playbook, and it works time and time again.
It's such a good point, Kyle, because it actually works better now because people are hoarding. You know, that's the negative side, but people want more. You know,
Stocking up.
They don't want, you know, a little delivery here and there. Like, just get it all. Get all the luxury products. Get all the you know, comfort products.
Yeah.
Get it done.
Yeah. There's just some basic mechanics that brands should be doing, regardless of who you are or the status of the brand, for sure.
Very cool. Speaking of giving back, I wanted to, you know, we'll probably wrap this up pretty quick. I think this is something we can kind of do, you know, get better at over time and provide more value every time we do it. But in the name of adding value, I just want to bring a little story that I had yesterday. I have a friend of mine that runs a fiber art store, which is like, it's yarn, but it's like unspun yarn. It's yarn that you have to spin on a wheel. It's called Naughty by Nature, but it's not KONTTY. Naughty. Anyways, he was talking about how, like, in the past week, he just expanded to a new store, all this huge new space he has. He's like, I just had to switch my entire business online. I'm trying to run these live Zoom calls where we can get people to pay to learn how to do this. And he's just like trying to pivot on a dime to save his life. And I just sort of took some time yesterday and was like, and talked to him about like, okay, well, what you probably want to do is build a Facebook group. You've got this Facebook page, you've got 8,000 people on your Facebook page, but you're only going to reach, 5% of those people with any of your posts. Whereas if you create a Facebook group, not only are you not going to have to make all your own content, they're going to be contributing content of what they're making during this time. You're going to be providing them a service. You're going to be able to create, have a list essentially, and a place where you can reach people again and again. So I've been walking him through the steps of creating this group and inviting people. So I just want to say, like, we're obviously trying to make things as best as we can for our families and for our clients, obviously for our coworkers and things like that. But I think it's a great idea to, think about what are the ways that you can help kind of local businesses around you that are going to be in an absolute world of hurt from this.
I think it's a great point, Eric. We've got someone, I don't know who it is, but someone in our town, we're Victoria, BC, Canada, put together this kind of matchmaking service to connect marketers and website designers and tech professionals with local businesses who are struggling. And I think there is this, we have this, the amount of knowledge that, any marketer has over the average brick and mortar store owner is huge. And what you think might not be valuable, you've set up a couple Shopify stores or you've built some landing pages or what have you, is so powerful and can be so helpful for some of these small businesses. So by all means, if you have the power right now and you have some time, go and knock on some doors and see who could use your help. No question.
Unmute myself here. I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. We've gone about an hour and 15 minutes here, which is maybe a little bit longer than we wanted in the future. There's some topics that we didn't hit. Specifically, we'll have to save for next time, so you guys will have to tune in next time. I really want to talk a little bit about team culture. I'm reading a book right now called The Culture Code, and I feel like you guys have built. I don't know if you've read it. I was talking with Jeff. I don't think he's read it, but I feel like you've done a lot of the stuff it talks about in the book internally, and the way that you've built the team out and the ethos of everyone. And I really think it's something that that I think a lot of people could benefit from talking about. So maybe that's something that we can talk about next time.
Sure.
Definitely. One thing on that, we got beer delivered to some of our staff's houses. That was a huge win. And there's so many breweries trying to do that right now.
I am waiting for my beer to arrive. But the team is meeting, we're bi-weekly meetings where we're all getting together and having a beer. I think we got to get another one on the books. I'm sure a lot of people out there are finding all sorts of creative ways to bring togetherness into their team and into their lives in general here. My daughter just become obsessed with FaceTime. She's spending like 2 hours. She's a 6-year-old girl spending 6 hours or spending like an hour or two a night FaceTiming her friends. Like, what is she even talking about? She's 6.
Oh my God.
But anyway, on that note, I want to thank everyone for, tuning into this pilot project. And we'll be coming back at you soon. And yeah, everyone stay cool. Everyone stay calm as we kind of, roll on with this situation. Anyone have any predictions?
What, on the election?
No, not the election, just on like how long we're going to be working from home.
I think it's going to be a while.
I think we just gotta smile and keep grinding and hope for the best. I don't think anyone knows.
That's a good way to end it. Thanks, Kyle. All right, guys.
Thank
See
you.
you next time.
Thanks, Eric. See you guys.
Cheers.
See you guys.
Peace.